Hey crypto traders, checking in on a wild day as far as markets are concerned. S&P 500 all-time highs on vaccine news, the metals with a big sell-off, crypto with a rejection from resistance into a sell-off, into a bounce. We'll check in on all of that and review a trade from over the weekend on a bounce play. Stay tuned. So let's check in on the broader market first. This is the S&P 500, bearish 2 weeks ago, held weekly support, and then a rocket ship on a bullish reaction to the election, bullish reaction to vaccine news this morning, and a new all-time high in the S&P 500. As we know, strength in the broader market is ideal for all assets. That being said, we can see the dollar is bouncing. We're just looking for a daily lower high on the dollar. Not a very significant bounce at this point, but gold is dumping. After just making a key break that indicated a monthly higher low was set, we are right back down, about to test support. That's a big mix-up as far as what we've been looking at recently. Over the last couple of months, it's been gold, crypto, and the S&P 500 all correlated together. This is a very distinct difference. So now we're going to be watching, where does crypto fall into line here? Is it going to be paying more attention to stocks, or is it going to be paying more attention to metals? And with where we stand right now on this morning's action, it's really in the middle. We can't really tell yet, but it's something we're going to be watching for in the short term. So it certainly didn't dump as significantly as gold did, but it did pull back, which we will look at in just a second. So Bitcoin, bullish reaction to the vaccine news initially. We failed to break resistance by less than 1%, and then we dumped. And that is giving us a 12-hour equilibrium. High of 2020, low of the pullback, lower high, and now we're looking for a 12-hour higher low compared to 14,300. And I have moved up my swing trade stop loss to under 14,300, because if that level were to be lost, we would lose the daily 12-period EMA support for the first time in over a month, and I would then want to be cash looking for a re-entry on weekly consolidation. So I'm just walking my stop loss up as we go, and I did enter an ETH position on the pullback over the weekend. I'll go over that at the end of the video in just a moment. As far as short-term action on Bitcoin, we're looking for an hourly lower high to be set. Bulls would love to change the hourly trend from here. That will require topping out, holding 14,800, and then confirming the trend change. If that happens, the odds that our 12-hour higher low has been set would increase, and we would keep this 12-period EMA support, which would be ideal for the bulls' bigger picture as well. Dominance chart. Bitcoin bulls want to see this daily 12-period EMA continue to hold, and altcoin bulls want to see a failure to break the recent high and a bear break of 64.22 to lose that EMA support and to see some altcoin strength relative to Bitcoin. We saw some altcoin strength right here, but it is just a daily higher low, and a confirmed daily downtrend is needed if the altcoins are going to continue to stand out. So ETH USD, sideways with multiple daily inside bars. And if we look at it on the 12-hour time frame here, it's the same thing as Bitcoin, high, low, lower high, and we're scouting a higher low compared to 423, the most important support level, and the 12-hour EMA support is continuing to hold here. ETH BTC, 4-hour equilibrium broke bearish, but right now that bear break is seeing a lack of follow through, which tells us to zoom out, and it's potentially a daily bull flag. We have to set that daily higher low and break the top of pretty much 0.03 to confirm follow through, which would be the Bitcoin dominance chart losing that support that we just looked at. So that's what the altcoin bulls have to see for follow through. And again, it's possible that Bitcoin trades within this 12-hour equilibrium for another 2 or 3 days. And if that were to be the case, and if this dominance chart were to break bearish while that were happening, then again, those altcoin bulls are going to head up to test their recent highs if Bitcoin stays range bound. But if the dominance chart breaks bearish, tells us that the altcoins are gaining strength comparative to Bitcoin. Binance, watching for a weekly high or low. The weekly time frame is the most important for me here as we look for a weekly high or low compared to 2210, and we know we need a daily trend change back to bulls to say that our weekly high or low has been set, which at this point would mean low of the pullback, high of the bounce, have to hold 25.75 and break that resistance of 29.90 to confirm the daily trend change and confirm that weekly high or low. If the bulls can't pull that off, it's possible we see another leg down, still watching 2210 as the most important support level. Link USD, also sideways. Again, watch the 12-hour time frame on all our altcoins, because that's going to help us gauge, are we stronger than Bitcoin? Are we doing the same thing as Bitcoin? And for the most part, the altcoins that we're going to look at are doing the same thing as Bitcoin. High, low, lower high on the 12-hour, and scouting the higher low. So for this week, until we get a break of this tightening 12-hour range, that is clearly the most important time frame for me, and I'm well aware that it could take days to play out. YFI USDT has not topped out yet on the daily. Inside bar yesterday, inside bar today. Those inside bars would have to break bearish for us to then look for the daily higher low to try and be set. We know without a daily trend change, the bulls are not going to be proving follow through to us. So let's see the 12-hour here. Favoring the bulls, not as clear of a pullback, higher lows being maintained. And again, daily inside bars, how they break are going to dictate whether we head back up to test the high of this bounce or whether we pull back to look for a higher low. If I'm a patient bull and I did not want to enter into weakness due to the lack of support, I am looking to enter on a daily higher low using 7451 as a stop. So maybe I make my first entry at 13,000 if I want to be a little aggressive, and then maybe I make a second entry at 11,000, a third entry at 9,000, and then put a stop down under 7,400. That's one way to play it. Sometimes I do that on the shorter term time frames as a day trader. So checking back in on the oversold bounce. And it almost looked like the market was reacting, or I should say crypto was reacting to Biden being announced as the presidential winner. And why I say that is because our RSI levels got a bit more extended than we would normally anticipate. Got a stock order that I need to set a stop on. So the hourly RSI, we were looking for a back burner trade, first hourly oversold conditions on Bitcoin, and that hourly RSI dropped all the way down to 20 and almost hit those teens. So that is more extended than you normally see. And the fact that we went from 15,400 and dropped $1,100 in just a few hours, it was a bit extreme. That being said, we were all hanging out in the chat room over the weekend, and a lot of us were looking to buy these dips because we love playing these oversold bounces. And for me personally, I chose ETH because the scenario that I laid out recently is, in my opinion, we need Bitcoin to give us a wide $1,000 plus range that we are going to trade sideways in for days, ideally up to a week. And during that sideways trading, that's when the altcoins try and gain some ground as profits leave Bitcoin and go into the altcoin space. So I chose ETH for an entry, and it's also a bit of diversification in the sense that I have a sizable swing position in Bitcoin. And if I go into Ethereum, while I'm not diversified in the grander scheme of things, as far as the crypto space is concerned, I diversify a little bit. So my game plan was just scaling in as I normally do. Excuse me. First entry was 435. Second entry was 428. And then I had more orders, 2 more that I was willing to enter, down in the 14s and towards 400. And as soon as I saw the bulls holding momentum comparative to Bitcoin, so right about here, Bitcoin was dropping to lower lows. And I could see ETH BTC was bouncing, and that gave me confidence saying, okay, it looks like ETH bottom is in before Bitcoin here. So I entered, rather than scaling in on limit orders, I entered a third position on a market buy, which then turns me from being, a conservative scale in bounce trade to then being aggressive when I make that entry into the bounce momentum as opposed to entering into weakness. And then I ended up holding that position overnight, getting enough bounce to be comfortable, and entering on a 4-hour. I exited a third of that position in the 340s. We're at a different spot here. We didn't drop that low. So back here. So exited looking for a 4-hour lower high. Exited a little bit early in the 440s, taking a third of my position off. At that point, my break even drops down to about 427, 428 or so. And so I'm comfortable holding that position now. And if we set a 12-hour high or low, I will walk my stop up. For now, my stop is under 423. And again, just having 2 swing trade positions now, one in Bitcoin, one in ETH. They're about similar sizes to each other. The ETH position is a bit smaller. I've got 25% cash for any day trade opportunities that present themselves, but otherwise just patiently waiting for these 12-hour time frames to play out. If they break bearish, I will be stopped out of a good amount of my swing trade positions in crypto, back to all cash, patiently waiting from there. If we keep these 12-hour higher lows, I'm going to keep my sizable position and obviously hope for continuation, which would end up being a big win. So that is what I am currently doing and remaining patient. We'll see how these 12-hour time frames play out. We'll see how gold settles in and the relationship between gold, the broader market, and cryptocurrencies, because again, in the last 12 hours, the relationship between those three has shifted more than we've seen in the last bunch of months. So we need to see how things play out from here. But overall, 12-hour for clarity. Appreciate you watching. Don't forget to do good things. It's getting cold out there as the seasons change. And I like to go and head to a thrift store, load up on warm clothes, warm hat. And then if you come across someone who needs some help, you can give it to them. Thinking about 2020, we're probably going to see a whole lot more homeless people that aren't used to being homeless this year around, unfortunately. And if there's anything that I have learned from living out of my car when I was road tripping, it was you have to learn through mistakes. So if you got a lot of new homeless people, they're going to be making a lot of mistakes and learning from them and going through some tough times, obviously. So anything that we can do to help, that is ideal. For me personally, one of my favorite things about financial independence is driving around with a middle console full of 20s to just hand out day makers to people. I don't care what you look like. I don't care your age or your race, anything like that. If the question is, can you help? The answer is yes. And putting ourselves in a position to be able to help is ideal. It makes them feel good. It makes you feel good. And it's good. And it's a good thing. So do those good things. See you next time. It's time to keep this princess tree in check. It was 6 inches tall when I moved in a year and a half ago. It's dropped all its leaves. Time to cut it down. I was a bit skeptical of an electric chainsaw before I got it. It's more expensive than gas. And it's smaller. I definitely wouldn't be using this for large trees, but anything around the yard that's that big or smaller definitely won me over in terms of how quiet it is. Don't need headphones, no gasoline. Worst case scenario, if there's no electricity or gas, can charge it with a solar panel. So between this and the electric weed whacker, I think we're over the hump for tools to be battery powered and still start to catch up and exceed the something of gasoline. I'm trying to say something. Proper way to fell a tree. One thing about the princess tree is it's naturally hollow. So there's a lot of different uses that you can get out of it. Don't really know what I have a use for. There will be a new tree growing out of there in 5 months.